welcome to Josie and Ellie Crochet. We are making some gorgeous little crochet bunnies for today's tutorial. I have 3 different examples here of the different type of yarn that I have used. So today I have some 3mm cotton cord that I'm going to be using for this tutorial, which is this bunny here. My personal favourite is actually the chunky yarn. I really enjoyed making it with the chunky yarn. This is Aran cotton yarn, and I found that 2 strands of the Aran cotton worked best. One was just too thin, so it definitely works best with a thicker yarn. So a chunky yarn or a cord, or if you want to use a couple of strands of the yarn that you have available, that is also an option as well. But I don't know if you can see the ears came up a little bit floppier, whereas with the chunky and the cord, they keep their shape a little bit better, I found. But I really like the 2-tone of it, so it comes out really nicely. So you will need your choice of yarn and the hook that works with that yarn. So for me today, I have a 7mm crochet hook. You will need some form of circle to crochet around. So these are just some wooden craft hoops. I believe I got these on Amazon. I got a massive bag of them. They're not too expensive, but when I originally started, I bought some in Hobbycraft. When this initial idea came about, I had some old curtain rail hoops, so you could also use them if you have any of them around. You will need a yarn needle to weave in your ends and some scissors. So I'm just going to pop these bits to the side and we can get going. So I have my yarn of choice, my hoop and my crochet hook. So to begin with, we want to attach the yarn to the hoop. So to do that, I'm going to take a slip knot. So my way of doing that is to create that X shape, take the hook under the first piece of yarn over the second and pull that through, removing finger, and there is your loop on the hook. Then we want to slip stitch it to the hoop. So I'm taking the yarn behind and I'm taking the hook around the hoop there to pull the hook, the yarn, up and through, and then I'm just going to pull that through the loop on my hook. And that will keep that nice and secure and in place there. Now your end here, you can weave that in at the end once you've completed your bunny, or I like to hold it during the first couple of stitches so that it saves me weaving in at the end really, but you don't have to do that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the yarn behind and we're going to be taking a double crochet around until we've covered up the wooden hoop. If you use US terminology, that is a single crochet. So with the yarn behind, we're going to take our hook through the center of the hoop, hook around the yarn and bring it up to the top. Then we take our yarn over the hook. Oh, get that out of the way. There we go. And then we pull through both loops. So it can be a bit fiddly with that, which is why I said you can leave that till the end if you prefer. So there is our first stitch. So we do that again. We take the hook under and pull that yarn up. Then the yarn goes over the hook and we pull through 2 loops. And I'm just going to pull this as I go along. So we go under, pull up, take that yarn over the hook and pull through 2 loops. And this is what we are going to do around the entire hoop. So we're taking a double crochet. Remember, if you use US terminology, that's a single crochet. And it can feel a little bit fiddly at first, but once you get into the groove, it works up pretty quickly. Now, if you've done what I have and you've threaded that end, you can kind of, if you can see it there, I just want to pull that a bit tighter. There we go. And then I'm going to cut this so it gets out my way. And then I continue with just one piece of yarn, so it's slightly easier without having that end flapping around. So the number of times you go around can vary depending on your tension, on your yarn of choice, but we just want to cover up our hoop without having it bunched up too much. So I'm going to continue round and meet you at the end. Right, so now my hoop is covered with the double crochets. I'm going to take a slip stitch into that first stitch there. So I'm taking my hook through, yarn over and pull through both loops, and that just completes our circle. So our next step is to create the ears. So for this, we're going to and we're chaining 7. So we take yarn over, pull through the loop, yarn over, pull through the loop, yarn over 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. Now in this 6th stitch here, we're going to take a double crochet. So put that hook through, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Then we're going to take 6 chain, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're going to come back down and we're going to slip stitch into that same stitch there. So a little bit fiddly. There we are. And there we have our first little ear. So then we're going to slip stitch into the next stitch. So take that hook through and pull the yarn all the way through. And we're going to repeat the exact same steps again to create our second ear. So we start by chaining 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We go into that 6th stitch with a double crochet and we chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, and we come down and slip stitch into that same stitch there. There we go. So there are our 2 ears. So now we're going to create the little face shape. So to start with, to get to the right height, we're going to chain 2. So 1 and 2, and into our next stitch we're going to take a treble crochet. If you use US terminology, that's a double. So we take the yarn over the hook first, into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Then the next stitch we're going to take a half treble crochet. So we start the same, take the yarn over into that next stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and we're going to pull that through the next 3 stitches, so all the way through, and we're going to finish with a double crochet in that last stitch. So we take the hook through, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, and there we have our little face. So from there we can actually cut our yarn, but we want to leave enough so that we can weave in the end. So I'm going to cut there and pull that through, and that will tighten up as we weave in the end. So we're going to take our yarn needle, yes, move that hook out the way, and I like to just come into the next stitch to pull that in nice and tight there, and then we can come round and weave in those back stitches, pulling nice and tight. Now if you want to be extra cautious, you can add in a little knot as well to ensure it doesn't come undone. So I'm going to do that as I move nearer this little lump here. So I'm going to do it here. So I'm just going to go into one stitch there, and then in the loop that I've created, pop that through and tighten up there, and then I can come back the way I've just come to make sure that that's nice and secure. And then we can cut our end. Okay, so then we've got our body, we've got our ears and face. We want to create a little tail. So if you have a little pom-pom, you could glue that on. If you don't, I like to add a little bow. So I'm just wondering, this end that I just got off might actually be the perfect size. Let's have a look. So you want to pick the spot that you want your tail. So I'm going to go about here. Yeah. And we just thread the yarn through that stitch there. Remove our needle. And then, oh, I think this might be the perfect size, you know. This worked out quite well. We can create our little bow. Wiggle it around a little bit. Make sure it's nice and tight. Oh, it's a bit fiddlier with small yarn. I tend to do it a little bit longer and trim the ends. But I thought we won't waste it, as that looked like a good size piece of yarn, and I think it is there. I think that's perfect actually. There we go. And there is your little bunny. So these are great for Easter. My girls love these, and I'm going to use them to create their little Easter egg hunt come Easter weekend. They're a really fun make. They come together so quickly. That won't take you any longer than 15 minutes. I've made quite a few now and they take me around 10. So I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and that you're going to be able to feel confident in making your own little Easter bunny decorations. Thank you so much for joining me, and happy crocheting!